Hello, my name is Miss Gilbert and I'm the Year 2 lead here at Glebe Primary School. This is an informative video just to let any parents of any children in Year 2 know about the upcoming standard assessment tests or SATs that the children will be taking during the month of May. So just a little bit about the tests that the children will be undertaking. The children will undertake tests in English and Maths during the month of May. They will be undertaking 2 reading papers, a spelling test and a grammar and punctuation test. And in Maths they will be undertaking 2 papers as well, 1 arithmetic and 1 reasoning. There is no formal writing assessment at the end of Year 2, unlike Year 6. Pieces of work are instead completed throughout the year. The class teachers assess these pieces of work and give the children a final assessment at the end of the year based on their work in class. The children will sit the test during the middle to the end of May, and in order to avoid any anxiety from the children, they will not be told the exact dates of those assessments to make sure that they are as worry-free as possible. The tests will be conducted in class, or they will be taken to the library or other small rooms in order to complete small group interventions with LSAs. Children who require additional support will sit the test separately with an LSA, or they will be given support within the class setting, for example, encouragement purposes or clarification purposes if necessary. However, the adults are not able to assist the children, and we are given very, very clear guidelines as to what we are allowed to do in a test situation. Any children who are entitled to a one-to-one assistant, they will be completing the test with their one-to-one assistant in a small, quiet room. And whilst there is guidance for how long a test may last, the children are allowed to have as much time as they need in order to complete the paper. The tests will be marked by your child's class teacher, so despite the fact that they are externally set assessments, they are marked in-house by the children's class teachers. And if your child is poorly on the day of any of our assessments due to take place, then they will be able to complete them at the next available opportunity. And just to reiterate that there is no pressure placed upon the children at any point during these assessments. We do want to get the best out of the children and make sure that they are as worry-free as possible. So having a look at the maths papers to start with. They will sit 2 papers, paper 1 being arithmetic, and this paper focuses mainly on the 4 operations and calculation methods for these, along with fractions. So they are looking at addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, as well as fractions too. Paper 2 is longer and covers problem solving, reasoning, mathematical fluency. This lasts approximately 35 minutes and is worth 35 marks. Arithmetic is worth 25. The problems contain words, and these may be read to pupils. However, again, teachers and adults are given very, very clear guidance on what words can and what words cannot be read to the children. Pupils will still require calculation skills, and questions will be varied, and these will include multiple choice, matching, completing a chart or a table, and drawing a shape. And some questions will also require children to show or explain their working out too. So let's have a look at some examples of these papers. So the arithmetic paper, there is about 2 questions per page, and there is ample space underneath each question for the children to show their working out if necessary. So you can see on the left-hand side there is grid paper underneath this question, 65 plus blank equals 93, and we just tell the children to treat that as they would their maths book, which has similar grid paper. Lots of the other spaces are blank, and we train the children to just make sure that they are using that space to its maximum capacity. And the children are then directed to write their answer inside the blue rectangle in the question also. These are some examples of the reasoning paper 2 questions. As you can see, they are much wordier and contain pictures and diagrams too. So adults are allowed to read all of the words apart from those in bold, and we will be able to read these as often as the children need us to also. So here are some other examples of the reasoning and word problems that the children will come across. And this is the final question. It's an example of a final question on a reasoning paper. And it carries 2 marks, and the children are expected to show they're working out for this as well. So should the child get the answer wrong at the end, we can allocate a mark if their working out is more or less correct. So we do always encourage the children to show their working out where they possibly can, so that even if they don't get to the answer that they need to get, then they can still at least show that they are on the right track. So what are we doing in school to prepare the children for the assessments? We are doing weekly mental and written method lessons, and we do lots and lots of fluency in school just to hammer home all of the methods that they can use within a test situation. We do lots of problem solving, solving puzzles, applying their calculation skills in many, many different ways. And this lends itself really well then to reasoning and explaining their answers and letting us know how they got to an answer, and also talking about efficiency, the best way in which to get to an answer too. And in these lessons, we also incorporate test style questions. So we use test style questions from previous years and put these into lessons as well, so that when the children are sitting these assessments, these questions are not something that they have never seen before, and it is familiar to them. So moving on to the reading tests. The reading tests consist of 2 test papers, and these will be administered on 2 separate days. And the maths will also be administered on 2 separate days too. Both tests are estimated to last around 30 to 40 minutes each. However, as stated previously, the children will have as much time as they need in order to complete these assessments. There are a total of 40 marks available, 20 for each paper. And these questions are designed to assess how well a child is understanding what they're reading. Some questions are multiple choice, some can be selected response, others will require short answers, and some questions will require an extended or explanation response. Paper 1 has just got 1 booklet, so the text and the questions are all in the same booklet. Usually you will see the text at the top of the page and the questions related to that piece of text underneath. Paper 2 consists of 2 separate booklets. So there is a reading booklet where it's just the text in one booklet, and then the questions and the answer booklet are separate. So I'll just show you an example of that on the next slide. So this is an example of paper 1. So as you can see, this is a text about ants. There is a diagram with some writing at the top of the page, and underneath there are 2 questions related to that piece of text. Now this is an example of a non-fiction piece of writing. A fiction or a story, that would be a piece of text on top and then some questions underneath as well. So the questions are laid out exactly the same way as this. We have multiple choice to the left, ordering and ranking in the middle, where the children have to order the events of the story from 1 to 5. And then to the right hand side here, there are some short response questions too. And then, as I said before, paper 2 consists of 2 separate booklets. So you've got the reading text, and you'll have 3 separate texts within that. And then a separate answer booklet as well, with questions and answers. And as you can see, to the right hand side, in brackets, it tells you what page to locate that answer. So children have been doing lots and lots of work on reading a piece of text thoroughly to start with, and then skimming and scanning that text with a highlighter to find keywords within that text to find the answers. So what are we doing in school? Well, our reading practice sessions and our guided reading sessions cover an awful lot of the domains and the types of questions that the children will see in these assessments. We hear the children read very often. We also read aloud to them and model what reading should sound like and how to use expression in their reading, etc. Fluency is very, very important, and of course it is the first stepping stone towards being a successful reader. However, children's understanding of the text is also very, very important, and we do place a lot of emphasis on both of these during guided reading and reading practice sessions. There are opportunities for the children to read across the curriculum, so we don't just keep reading opportunities to English or guided reading or reading practice sessions. We incorporate reading into history lessons, geography lessons, science lessons. We make sure it's as broad as possible. So they have had experience of reading a variety of different texts, fiction and non-fiction, and in these assessments they will see examples of both of these, which is why it's so important to make sure that the children have got a broad, rich experience of different text genres. Our class reader provides an opportunity for children to listen to and model good practice whilst reading. So the class teachers will read these texts to the children, the children will follow them along, and they will answer questions based on what they have heard. So just moving on to the last set of test papers that the children will encounter. We have the spelling, grammar and punctuation test. These are made up of 2 papers. Paper 1 is spelling. Spelling consists of an answer booklet for children to complete. The test transcript will be read by the test administrator. The children have approximately 15 minutes to complete this, but it's not strictly timed. And there are 20 words for the children to spell correctly inside the answer booklet. And that consists of the children having a sentence. There is a blank in each sentence that the children have to fill in with a missing word, which is called out by the adult in the room. Paper 2 is focusing on grammar, punctuation and vocabulary. And they have approximately 20 minutes to complete these questions. There are 10 questions on the paper, but again, it is not strictly timed. So here are some sample questions from the grammar, punctuation and vocabulary paper. So this is a tick the correct response question. So the children will have to read that sentence and decide on the correct conjunction that fits into that blank space there. And here is an example of a matching question where the children have to match the contractions to their expanded form. And finally, here is an example of the spelling test. So there are 20 sentences. Each sentence has a blank space. The test administrator will call out the full sentence, including that word that belongs into that blank space. And the children have to write in that word as accurately as they possibly can. There will be no more than 1 test undertaken per day, and the children will be partaking in a range of exciting activities afterwards. And it's best to think of these assessments as an evaluation of your child's learning so far, and it will help to inform future planning and interventions needed, and will only form part of the bigger picture of your child's learning so far. Please do contact your child's class teacher if you have any further questions about the upcoming standard assessment tests. Thank you so much.